Here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome back to the Golf Smarter podcast, Sam.
Thanks, Fred, for having me back, pal.
You kidding? I mean, I would have you on more often, but I know that you're so busy doing your own social media. My God, you're everywhere. It's worked very well for you, by the way.
I try to be. I like it out here in social media land.
Yeah. Yeah, between the podcasts and the videos and getting people fitted and showing off their new putter and how to do it. But I think my favorite is Beat the Boss. I love Beat the Boss.
Yeah, it's been a minute since we've got to get another one out there. We've got 2 episodes in the can, or 1 episode in the can, maybe 2. I don't remember, but one of them's against my brother, and it's a pretty epic match.
Ooh, now that one I'd like to see. I definitely, because when I was up there with you and my friend Kevin, we played with you and Liam, and so getting to watch you two play together is always a hoot.
Yep.
He's so much fun.
Oh, Liam's great. Good. He's such a good player.
He's so good.
If we didn't have him stuck in the shop building putters, he could be making a few bucks at this game, I bet.
Probably. But I mean, he's living a dream.
You're
allowing him to live a dream.
We're all having some fun for sure.
Yeah, and talk about a dream. So the last time you were on, I remember asking you, so, I mean, what do you do? Can you sell the company at this point? You're like, no, we can't sell the company. It's too big. No one can buy it. And if the only reason they'd buy it is to shut it down, I won't let that happen. And I was like, okay, I believe you.
Yeah.
Oops.
I don't know that I said exactly that, but yeah, I mean, we obviously had to kind of mum is the word, when you're going through transaction stuff and contractually bound not to speak of anything. I don't remember when exactly our last one was, but yeah, I mean, we'd been working towards some kind of transaction for better part of the last 2+ years. So we would have been, at least testing the waters by the last time I was on your show. But yeah, man, I mean, everything just moves so fast, and it's impossible to convey the just weekly volatility that is, our lives of this last, 3 months. And, we pivot a lot. You have to, in order to compete in this industry. And, so, yeah, we started a process looking for a potential partner or buyer, a couple years ago, and, courted by any number of, private equity firms. Once we, put it out to market, a couple of other, potential strategic buyers and stuff, and found some badasses.
And it was so funny that when I heard the announcement, I was in Paris. I'm like, really? You want me to go knock on a door? I would send you a text. You want me to go knock on a door for you and say anything I can do while I'm here? I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
That it was a Parisian company, a French company that invested. And so how does that work? So they don't come in and take over the company. Based on what I've read about this private equity firm that kind of lets people do what they're doing and continue
I mean,
to
it's
do
different depending upon the firm, right? Like there was, to be fair, like none of the ones that ultimately, kind of made it to the final, 8 or so of potential suitors.
Wow.
None of them had designs to shut the company down and take it over. I mean, L.A.B is a very, very unique business. It's not like, a PE firm that owns a bunch of gas stations buying a small little gas station company and just rebranding it and putting it into the mix. Like there's no know-how or there's no widespread industry know-how of how to do what we do. Additionally, you'd be a fool not to realize that a lot of what makes L.A.B so special is the culture and the people. And so, to buy up a company like ours and then try to do it differently or better than what we're doing would just be silly. So the people that were serious about partnering with us all understood that like we weren't going to leave Cresswell, that I wasn't going to go anywhere, and the all the executives and the higher level folks that have been with us since the beginning weren't going to go anywhere, and they didn't want us to. And so with El Catterton, who yes, was originally funded by Bernard Arnault, from Louis Vuitton. Like, just for anybody curious about that association, it's not the company's not owned by Louis Vuitton. It's El Caterton is its own, private equity firm with 30 years of like a phenomenal track record of doing what they're doing with us, which is to let the team that got us here continue to go. Now they were tough around making sure that we had some go forward plans, because that's what they're buying, right? They're not buying what is, they're buying what will be. And so, they came in and they did a fucking 7-month long proctology exam to learn every single, in and out of the entire business, to see where, and this is where we were pressing them and the other potential suitors, is how are you going to help us? And, before we hit record here, you and I were talking, like, initially we just thought the time was right to cash a check. And so we went out, and we're talking to, actually a lot of customers who were, high net worth individuals, and see if could put a group of them together to partner with us and buy some equity. And then, kind of a year into that process is when things really started to just go crazy, and our lead times got totally out of control. Or, the factory was like just the explosion of chaos, 24 hours a day. And it was then we realized, like, we needed more than money. We needed help. We needed, some experienced personnel, and we needed additions to our team that could take us to the next level. And that's where, these guys are badasses.
Experienced personnel, are you talking operationally or
Everything. Sales, operations, finance, everything.
Yeah. And yes, they're buying the people and the culture that's up in Creswell, understood. But bottom line, they're buying the results that they're seeing. I mean, how much of this centered around JJ sinking that putt to win the Open? It was like
Nothing. It had nothing. Nothing.
Really,
No, I mean,
fingers
we closed
exploding.
on July 15th. The original letter of intent, I think the original, letter of intent that we signed was in early January. So, the deal was in its very, very final stages. And yes, the final stages take 6 weeks by themselves. So no, it was already done at that point, pretty much, barring, extraordinary circumstances, but it certainly helped everybody feel real good about it,
Yeah.
and honestly, for me personally, like, I'm still currently CEO. I'll be stepping down as CEO in a few weeks, to assume a more product focused role, a founder role, and working on acquisitions of, some other technologies to integrate into L.A.B. But even as CEO, being CEO the last few months since we closed, the there is an emotional difference in the company being ours and not being ours. And
Okay.
there was, when JJ made that putt, I was having all kinds of anxieties about the deal. It's a scary ass thing, like,
Yeah.
in it's my life. I mean, it's everything that we worked on, and
Right.
to, put it in somebody else's hands from a board chair level, was a scary thing. And there was something that felt a little unfinished, or something that I couldn't quite put my finger on. And then when he made that putt, like, it was just the perfect closing, paragraph in the chapter of phase one of L.A.B.
Wow.
L.A.B.'s arrival into the world of golf with that putt was totally complete, and it just made it feel so good, to go into phase two.
But actually, phase one was Bill Pressey and directed Force, and you were phase two, right?
I
Kind
think
of,
of that
right?
as the prologue. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
And while this was all going on and the negotiations, everything, was it all on you, or did you have a team that you brought in from the outside that you used internally to help you, to guide you through that? You've never been through anything like this,
Right.
obviously. I
So
mean,
yeah, so
managing
we
bars,
we
it's
had
not.
a investment banking team
Mhm.
called Baird that was there for both just general advice and then a lot of the technical work. I mean, a lot of shit that I'm, way above my pay grade that I don't know anything about. I mean, the quality of earnings exercise was like I just never imagined that the level of sophistication involved in making these deals. Obviously, they're a multi-billion-dollar fund that does this stuff for a living, and this is what they do. But I had no idea how deep they go.
Mhm.
And so yeah, so the Baird team was very helpful. Like their associates who were out in Eugene every other week and helping us through all that stuff. But they can't do it themselves. Like they're there to help, to help guide us. And so um, of the sort of half a dozen, executives at Lab that were a part of this, I probably had it the best. Our CFO, Amanda, I mean, I'm sure that she had multiple 100-hour weeks.
Wow.
And Robert, who's going to be, he's currently co-CEO with me right now. He'll be our CEO here in November. Yeah, I mean, it can't be overstated. I mean, and when we started the process, any number of people that I reached out to that had been through similar things would just be like, dude, like it's crazy, it's so emotional, it's so intense, and I'm like, okay, and I could not have been less prepared for the emotional burden that is this thing. I mean, the volatility of it and the magnitude, right? I mean, it's this huge life altering event for so many people,
Right.
and every day there's a new little fire that needs to get put out or a decision that needs to get made, and then you factor that in with meanwhile we're trying to run the company, like
Mhm.
while we're doing
And
this, all of this diligence and all of this stuff. Um, and the
run and
company that we were
grow.
trying to run happened to be in the middle of, as absurd a level of growth as you'll ever see in the golf business. And so
Ever.
not only do we have to make a decision on X, or Y, regarding inventory or marketing spend or whatever the stuff is, but then you have to like make your decision and then look at it through the lens of how it's going to affect the deal and the transaction and the everything. And so couldn't make any key hires, really couldn't make any, big ticket purchase on inventory, couldn't, do, there was just a lot of stuff that we were tied up on. So it was a wildly stressful thing. And like, just like with Lab in general, what I've always wanted tattooed on my forehead is like, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah, right.
And there's you just
You're
keep
in a
your
league of your own, that's for sure.
yeah, and it wasn't easy, but very, very, very worth it. And um, everybody's happy. Nobody lost in this deal at all.
Oh, that's great.
And yeah, it's great.
Oh,
It's
I'm
really
so
great.
happy for you, dude. I am
Thanks.
so happy for you. And when you say they went deep, um, what direction? I mean, when you're talking about the PE going in and looking at your company, going deep, what are they, what surprises were there for you that you weren't anticipating? That kind of depth, that kind of
I mean, honestly, you'd
digging.
want to interview the CFO or COO and to get kind of the grittier details on it. But like, um, being an entrepreneur is in many ways just living by fuck it, we'll figure it out. Like you don't actually, you know, I don't plan, man. Like I'm not a planner. I pull on a
I
thread
totally get it.
and I go with it. And at the level of investment that they're making and the risk that they're taking, there is no there's no potential outcome that wasn't deeply scrutinized. And so not only do you need to make plans, but you need to make a backup plan for your backup plan, and three more backup plans behind that. And on every single facet of the business, from personnel to
Wow.
manufacturing to sourcing to sales channels. I mean, just answering the question of what is the total addressable market. What is the actual potential, of your customer base? That was a 6 weeks long exercise that involved
Really?
30 different, very high paid, professionals to scour the earth to understand and determine the actual answer to that question. Yes, you can Google what's the size of the total putter market, but like that doesn't satisfy what it is specifically that they're looking for. So things like that,
And is there a short answer to that question that takes months and months and months to create? Is there a
no. And
short
in fact,
answer?
on that particular one, I actually wasn't terribly satisfied with the answer, but I think
Really?
yeah, because um, it's not like how many people buy putters every year, because
Right.
one of the things that we know with Lab is that we shifted that, because the technology was so new. It changed consumer behavior from a normal replacement cycle of being, say, 5 years or whatever it is with a putter, or 3 years. I'm not sure what it is on paper now. Somebody that bought a putter last year that's a toe hang putter or face balance putter or whatever now has a reason to actually look at another putter, despite whereas they wouldn't have 4 years ago or 5 years ago, because they'd just be making a lateral move. So there's just super nerdy stuff that goes into determining this stuff. And then there was a huge burden on the operations team and the supply chain team, because of the timing of this transaction landed right in the middle of all this tariff craziness. And
Hmm.
um, we were on pace to close in March, and then when whatever Liberation Day or whatever the hell they called it, hit, like, we put pencils down for 6 weeks because nobody knew how that was all going to shake out.
Right.
Um, and for the second time, the fact that a huge amount of our operation is in the United States came in real handy.
I
And
bet.
the first time was when COVID hit. We were, we were in such a good position. I used the analogy, I think, on one of your shows in the past, like we were like the Bubba Gump shrimp boat when that,
Yep.
storm hit. And, we were the only one that managed to make it through with shafts on hand, and every other company in the world couldn't get their hands on any shafts. And we had an ops guy at the time who saw the writing on the wall and like literally was buying shafts out of people's garages. And scoured the earth to make sure that we wouldn't run out. And, yeah, it was similar to that, in that we were really lucky in that the impact of all the tariff stuff was significantly less than other consumer brands that were
Interesting.
manufacturing a lot of stuff overseas.
Yeah. Yeah. So I read everything I can get my hands on about you and the company, and I watch every video I can. If I see your name or I see Lab pop up, and almost every conversation I have on this show ends up being, do you use a Lab putter? Why not? I mean, it's like I'm sitting here, I've got a number of them next to me, but that's besides the point. Um, and where, and you're saying that JJ wasn't the tipping point for you guys. I did read a number, and you can clarify this for me, from your growth in and what your sales were in 2024 versus what your anticipated was going to be for this year, 2025, was 3x at
Uh,
least.
what did we do in
And then
2024?
also, when you and I started talking, you were saying, yeah, we do about 200 putters a month. And that's like now down to the minute. You do that many in a minute or so. Um,
Certainly in the first part of the day. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think
No,
I
we're
read 130,000 putters in 2024, and you were supposed to triple that in
yeah, it'll
2025.
be closer to 350,000 units this year. Um, and yeah, I mean,
How do
it's
you
just
wrap your
madness.
brains around that? I mean, we've talked about your past and our past together. It's like you came from managing bars and bands and probably employing or managing a handful of people at any given time to, I guess my biggest question is, how did you convince your family to buy in with you on this? And boy, are they proud of you now. Yeah.
Post
Your dad
transaction,
and
I
your
learned a
brother,
lot
right?
about people's lack of faith in this whole endeavor. It turned out my dad's investment. He was looking forward to using it to take the losses, and it's really funny. There's uh, when we raised a $500,000, I think in 2019. It was friends, family, and then just some customers and stuff like that. And my brother, he has his own company called Merriweather. They sort of real estate private equity, and they invest in a lot of golf stuff, but resorts and stuff like that. Anyway, he's got a deal with his partners that any deal of any kind that lands on any of their desks has to be offered to the other three partners. And
Okay.
so in 2019, he's like, I guys, my brother and I and my dad are in this putter company. We're raising some money. Do you guys want to jump in? And I was like, do we really have to bring them in? And he's like, no, it's good, it's good. And then he asked them, and they're like, do we have to? Like, do we have to get in on this? And a
Oh my
couple of them
God.
put in like 5 grand, or 10 grand or something like that, and they're like, shit.
I would have been there for
Um,
that one.
and then what was so funny too was the guy that actually connected us with Al Catterton was a fraternity brother of my brother's, and
Wow.
so we were meeting with them out in New York at some point, and I was telling exactly the story of just when we were going around to different friends and family, and asking for a few bucks on this crazy putter company that was going to be run by Sam, the stoner bar owner, and Mike, who was this guy that connected us with Al Catterton, jumped in the conversation. He's like, "Yeah, your brother called me to see if I wanted to put in some cash." And I was like, "And you didn't?" He was like, "Did you know you?" And I was like, "It's like screw you, Mike." But yeah, it was wild. I mean, and, to answer your question, like, how do you wrap your brain around it? You don't. Like, I don't wrap my brain
Yeah.
around it. It's all completely surreal. It doesn't. It's the magnitude of everything that we've accomplished isn't, for me anyway, it's too big of a concept to actually understand in my bones. And when I get my brain twisted around trying to get around it all, that's when I actually get pretty uncomfortable. I'm a lot more comfortable just kind of focusing on that which is right in front of me, and there's certainly a lot right in front of me to work on. But there are brief moments. There's and I would, and it's so interesting. They're not necessarily the moments you'd think, but they're just sweet, brief moments where I am able to take a quick 1.8 seconds and say, "God damn." you know. But for the most part, no. For the most part, it's like, I'm still on the Instagram DMs and stuff like that, and freaking out about some guy that's waiting for his putter, and nothing really changes.
Are you going to be okay not being CEO
Oh
of
yeah, I
this
mean,
company
like,
that you practically gave birth to? You adopted as an infant
for sure. So to be
and have
clear,
raised
like,
it.
being the chief executive officer of a business like this isn't about golf. It isn't about product. It isn't about. I mean, sure. It includes those things, but it also includes HR and budget reviews and and all kinds of very, very technical business stuff that I just simply don't have the education for. I did a really good job of
Do you have
putting
the
the right.
interest?
No, I don't.
Yeah, okay.
And now the piece that's exciting about all of this, like Catterton has me sitting on the board. The founder
Mm,
role that they've defined for me, like, I kind of get to have my cake and eat it too. I kind of get, I'm the one that's still driving the vision for what lab golf is, how we, exist in the world, what benefits we provide to golfers, what the brand tone is. I still get to do all that stuff.
great.
What I don't have to do is, you know, have any input on what consulting company should get the $1.5 million contract to take us through an ERP implementation, shit like
Mm,
that. I don't have to handle any of that. So, and RJ and I are very close and very aligned on what it is that we're trying to accomplish. And then there's running the company day to day is a massive lift. And we're trying to grow lab beyond what it is now. And so I get to go off and do that. I get to go off
and what
and
does that mean?
we're looking at other companies, smaller companies out there that were little baby labs that need
Really?
help. And yeah, there's so many great technologies out there. I mean, that's what I
Oh,
learned in the
yeah.
industry. And I think one of the things that helped me see the reality of what the industry is and what it could potentially be is the fact that I'm not an inventor. I didn't invent the putter. I didn't invent the technology. I have no, attachment to it. And so I'm still a consumer. And now that I've been through what I've been through with Lab, what I see is tons of brilliant folks out there with incredible ideas that simply haven't caught the lucky breaks that Lab caught, and haven't been able to put themselves in the position to catch those breaks or to find the right partnerships and find the right personnel and all that stuff. So I get to go do that. I get to go continue to be an entrepreneur. And being an entrepreneur is a very, very, very different mindset, different skill set, different day-to-day life than being a CEO, particularly a
Absolutely.
CEO of a $200 million company. I mean, it's a lot of nuts and bolts. Yes, ultimately the buck stops. With the CEO and any number of organizational structures. But we're still Lab, and we still do things a little differently. I have the utmost confidence in RJ. Crazy experience. He's wise. He's technically skilled beyond belief. And
So RJ is Robert, who you're referring to, is your co-CEO now, and he's taking over as CEO.
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I wasn't sure who
Yeah, and
RJ
he's a
was.
great dude,
And how
and
long has
he's
he been with Lab right now?
for over 2 years.
Okay.
He was brought on as a consultant to help us kind of figure out what we needed to do to go to market to have a transaction.
Okay.
And then we just had such a blast working together. Ultimately, he was hired as president, I think, a little over a year ago. And yeah, man, I mean, he came on at exactly the right time. Early on, it was important that I didn't have to answer to anyone, that I didn't have to debate anything with anyone. And then as the stakes grow, like a lot of these decisions you need to work through. And he and I have a very, very good yin and yang thing going
Awesome.
on, coming at each other with not even opposing views. I mean, we're mostly aligned on any number of things, but there's a lot of nuanced decisions that, take place every day that need some brighter folks than me, ultimately at least presenting us with the data and the information needed to, to make the right decisions.
And did he come from the golf industry
He did,
or?
and like my first conversation with him was, I mean, I was basically trying to talk him out of coming to work for us. Because I had this deep aversion to industry folks, and not only is he an industry guy, I mean, lived in Carlsbad for 30 years. He worked for
Oh
TaylorMade three
boy.
different times. He worked for Callaway. He worked for Never Compromise. He worked for Adams. I mean, he had his own marketing agency. I mean, he's been in it, and it wasn't until we were established enough with our own ethos and our own way of operating that I was comfortable bringing somebody like that into the fold without concern over them sort of diluting it into one of the major OEMs. And then he came, and what was special about RJ was like, I was always worried about bringing industry people in because it's like, okay, no, you guys can't have 8 colors. This is not what's done. The inventory costs are too high, and the da 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 da. And what happened when he came to visit the factory for the first time was the exact opposite, which is like, thank you. I've just been wondering and for years why people don't do the stuff, within these, massive companies that you guys are doing right now. And so he has
Wow.
the experience and the knowledge to know what it is that we're competing against, and the open-mindedness and, passion around doing things differently that makes this partnership perfect.
And now, are you a major OEM?
Yeah, I
Is
guess
Lab
so.
yeah.
It sure doesn't feel that
Yeah.
way. Yeah, I mean, we
You're
were
still in
talking about
Creswell,
that.
Oregon.
Yeah, we were talking about that in the marketing meeting where like, um, we were never particularly deliberate about a lot of the messaging around being an underdog. The world sort of did that for us.
Yep.
And we've noticed now that, particularly with the fact that the transaction was announced the way that it was, like, yeah, the kind of industry tone shifted on Lab real quick,
Yeah, it did.
um, and it was expected, and I get it. I mean, like it was such a cool, rags to riches story, and everybody who ever owned a Lab putter or shared a Lab story or did anything with Lab felt some ownership of Lab, and I think when people heard that it was sold to private equity, rightfully so, we're very upset because
Yeah.
you don't hear about the good things that happen with private equity, and we certainly all have heard any number of stories of private equity coming in and destroying wonderful businesses, and so people were upset, and we totally get it, and we actually kind of got excited, like, we seem to do better when we've got something to prove, and and now we have a new mission to prove that we made the right decision. And the right decision doesn't just mean the right decision for us, it means the right decision for the consumer. Like, this is ultimately going to produce better product, hopefully at better prices, and just an all around better experience that goes beyond what anybody's experienced before simply by buying a putter. So we like, the challenge of needing to sort of re-earn everybody's trust. And so far, I think we're doing a pretty good job. I think people I mean, it's funny, like, you read the comments online. I mean, geez, I mean, there's the Lab Rats page. I think you're on the Facebook page. That's the fan group, and I mean, I got really overwhelmed like a week after the announcement was made. We screw up, and when we screw up because we're so engaged with everybody, it always seems like a much bigger deal. Like when somebody gets a
Mm.
crooked grip, they put it on a Lab Rats page with 50,000 fans, and they lose their minds. And but it used to be, 6 months ago, we'd put a crooked grip out and somebody take a picture of it and say what gives, and everybody'd be like, man, take it easy, they're a small company from Oregon, leave them alone, it's just one grip, don't worry about it, and people would like have our backs. A week after the announcement comes up, somebody put a picture up of a crooked grip up there. It's like, see, PE already cutting corners. um, so we've had to, just sort of stay patient and take that as it comes and take it for what it is. And we're just going to continue to do what we always do, which is to, like, not to be defensive and just to have compassion for our customers. And like, I totally get it. I totally get people's concerns about Lab and what its future holds. And I have the luxury of knowing it's going to be okay. And we just need to stay patient and wait for the folks, the consumers and our customers and our fans and stuff to realize, like, this was such a win for everybody.
There's just a new putter I need to talk about, but I'm not there yet because you mentioned a few minutes ago that there's lots of great companies out there who are doing amazing things that aren't getting noticed, but we had a lucky break. what was L.A.B's lucky break
Oh, we had a
from your
million of them. We
perspective?
had a million of
Yeah,
them. I mean,
exactly. It
that's the
was,
book. I think that one of the reasons that we had more lucky breaks than the average company is, again, because I wasn't the founder or the inventor, you know, like, I mean, I think that's part of it. I don't know, man.
I've talked to so many small manufacturers on this show, because that's the ones I want to support. These guys
Sure.
like you when we first met in 2019, and and it seems to be the lucky break, if I can put air quotes on that. The lucky break is getting it seen on tour and then having somebody on tour have success with it. That
Yes and
seems
no. I mean, like, I think I've shared with
having
you,
Adam Scott and from way back and
but I mean, I think I remember, I think I told this story to you on one of the shows. Like, so we just start to get a little bit of momentum in 2019 when Adam started to use it. He was leading the Masters through um, 2 days in 2019, and then the camera like zooms in on him missing an 18-inch putt on, on 16 on Saturday, and the phone stopped ringing. And it was at that time that we realized, like, we can't rely on the tour. And
mm,
that wasn't a break. That was a smart strategic just shift that we made literally that Monday. We got on a marketing call. I was with Zach. You had Zach on your show from Rooted Solutions?
mm-mm.
You should. Anyway, Zach was, our marketing partner, and we realized at that moment that we can't rely on the tour, and that we needed to make this about the people actually buying the putters, and not these, these Greek gods that can do whatever they want with any club in their hand, like,
Right.
we needed to make it about you and me. And so we shifted our marketing focus and our messaging to be about the consumer. And I think that that's where a lot of these companies miss the mark. I think a lot of these companies have great technology that they're certain is going to, improve the tour players game, and they just sit out there and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And it's so rare that it happens. It's
Hmm.
so rare that you can get a relevant touring professional, to really give a look to legitimately new technology. And one of our competitors, I mean, one of the other companies in the, ZT space or whatever the hell they're calling it, were well beyond us when we started. And they send a
ZT
dude.
being zero torque.
Right. Which it isn't actually zero torque, but I guess the industry
Right.
decided that's what it's called now. Uh, they send a dude out there every week, every single week, just sitting on the side of the putting green with a bag full of putters, just hoping that, a top 10 player comes along and decides to grab it. And they did no marketing, and they didn't improve the product, and they didn't, engage with their consumers at all. And there they are, and so I
I you know
think
I think the huge element of it was, as we talked about at the start, was the social media element, that
correct.
you're approachable, you're sincere, you don't put on any airs about being the best out there. You just are what you are, and it's connected on so many levels. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm very proud of you for this.
Thanks, pal.
Um, uh, it it's amazing how well it has worked for you and how consistent you've been, even through this transition that you've made and all the stress on it. You're still there regularly on so many different shows, so many different videos, so many different podcasts on,
Yeah,
and
I love
Instagram
doing
and
it, and
TikTok and everything.
I don't get why
Yeah.
other people don't. Like,
Hmm.
to me, and I think this probably came from both the music and the political background. Honestly, is where I spent most of my time online. Learning to communicate with folks, and how to use social media to accomplish a goal versus to vent. and
Yeah.
uh, and Yeah, man. I mean, it was the only vehicle or avenue that I even knew to utilize. I never gave any thought to anything else. And so, um,
No.
And I think
You,
that that's part of one of the things that worked out really well for us, where like I genuinely enjoy it. Like I
mm,
wake up every morning, I enjoy looking through Facebook and Instagram and looking at other people's products and listening, reading comment threads and all of this stuff. I legitimately enjoy it. I find it fun, and it's not an act of discipline. I don't need to work at doing it. And then, yeah, it happened to work out that, yes, being transparent and open and, vulnerable with your customers, is good. That's what we want. That's what we, especially now, like there's too much, like we, the way that the marketing machines in all kinds of industries have worked in the past is shifting so dramatically right before our eyes. And the fact is, like, one of the things that the biggest shifts is that the consumer is more educated than they've ever been, because you don't need to take the manufacturer's word for it anymore. And it used to be that the only place you get information about the new driver was you needing to trust the fact that the ad that says you get 10 more yards is real. Well, now you can see the ad that says you get 10 more yards, and you go onto YouTube and find 15 different people that have actually tested it on a robot, tested it in their hands, and find out if it is actually, 10 more yards. So there's no point in doing that shit anymore. And so it's entirely just about, doing and letting the consumer into the process, enjoying having them be a part of it, which is a staple of how we operate, is just making sure that the feedback that we get from our customers that we're reading every day is actually, put into the process and put into the decisions that we make. And I think that a lot of the other companies out there, small or large, I think they'd get a little insulated, um, in their own little worlds of, like if you're a little company, yeah, you need to be obsessed with your product and positive that it's the best thing in the world and that nobody will ever, come up with anything better. And then if you're the bigger companies, you need to stay in your lane and keep doing what you're doing. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of interest or opportunity, even if there was interest in engaging with customers. And I think that's why we've been able to get where we are.
well, I think that as far as the online social media element to it, you and Bryson are right up there as far as taking advantage
Driving
of,
distance. Yeah, we're both about the same. Yeah.
yeah, and it's people are like, Bryson, no way. I'm like, dude, hate the ideology, not the people. Okay, we don't have to go there just because he had that guy on one of his shows, and I think Break 50 is brilliant, but it's a whole different conversation. So yeah, I just think that you've found the magic. You rubbed the bottle, and the genie came out at the exact right time in the right way, and it's mind blowing.
Yeah,
But
I mean, and you asked like some of those lucky breaks, like yes, so we had this social media edge, but like I don't know that lab becomes lab if COVID didn't happen. Like if we didn't
hmm,
have a moment where the entire planet got online
yeah,
24 hours a day, like where um there was a handful of moments like that. That one certainly being the most significant, that enabled our shtick of being online and connecting with customers, that much more powerful.
and the science proved it. And where a lot of people like, we've got this brand new thing, we got a great new tea. It's like, yeah, but there's no science behind it, right? You
Right.
had the science, what Bill did with the science and proved it, and the revealer was like, okay, it's a graphic example of what
Right.
it is that you're doing, made a huge difference. Now, when we first met and I got my first lab putter, what I was so excited about, and again, I've told this too many times, I started playing golf in my mid 30s. Okay. And from the first time I started playing golf, to me, a putter with a center shaft made more sense than a heel shafted putter. And
Sure.
so I've been putting, and then it was like, oh, look, Lab Golf, and they got the science and center shafted. I'm in heaven here. And so now that I'm totally hooked on the center shafted stuff and been doing it for years, you guys come out with a heel shafted putter to satisfy the desire of the old school putting world, I'm sure. And it has everything that any old school or regular golfer is going to want. It's got the looks of a normal type putter, the D shape, and it's got a heel shafted, but your science is still there. And so now I'm trying the heel shafted. I've played a couple rounds with it, and it's a real adjustment for me.
Me too.
Really?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that, you and I probably, and I certainly wasn't this way pre-lab, but 8 years into using lab putters exclusively, like I hit the ball with the bottom of the shaft.
Yeah.
That's just how
That's how you line it up.
exactly. And the shaft, is at an angle, and as long as I just plane this shaft and have the bottom of the shaft cut through right through the middle of the ball, I'm going to make some putts. So yeah, it has been an adjustment. If I'm honest, I'm not totally sold. Liam made me one earlier, about a month and a half ago, that I really like, and I'm giving it the old college try, and I'm starting to remember. And this is where you and I would depart, because it sounds like you've used center shafted putters since always. I didn't before lab.
I remember you talking about I had 50 putters in my basement, and
Yeah, exactly.
every round I would play with a different putter.
And in fact, I used to use super heel shafted putters, Odyssey #9 shapes and Napa shape or 8802 shape, stuff like that. Super toe down heel shafted putters. And so I'm starting to remember what I liked about lining them up and all of that. But we don't make putters for me. We make putters for everyday golfers. And the fact is, and I totally get why, because I did have the experience that was different than you, where center shafted putters made no sense to me early on. I couldn't stand them. They set up shut and super messed up to me. And so I'm just so happy to see people who were, clear as day that they would never be able to use a center shafted putter, having that lab experience, having that, holy crap, I just let it go and it just squares itself up and I'm where I need to be. And so, that's what's so happy making about it. The one regret I have about it, and nobody to blame but myself, I had my team even trying to talk me out of it, but the stock release that we did with the press grip, 2 degrees of forward shaft lean and then a 2-degree press grip on it. I didn't really appreciate that without the shaft going in the middle and without a knowledge that you need to need to lean the shaft forward to get it to set up. A lot of these first-time lab people or lab potentials are going and grabbing, the Oz HS with 2 degrees of lean and a 2-degree press grip on it, and it's setting up really shut to a lot of people. And it's just because most people set a putter down and their brain's trying to make the shaft vertical. If you make the shaft vertical with 2 degrees of shaft lean, the face is going to shut. And so the 0-degree lean, which one did you get? 0 lean or with a press grip on it?
Well, I had a 2-degree lean on it, and my nephew Calvin Green, who works for you, we're not related, but he said, because of where it sits on the face of the putter, you might not want to do. Okay, so I won't do the lean. And then it kind of limited my grips too, because I love the Pressy 2 grip that I had on my DF3 and my Oz 1, but I couldn't get that. And so I was
similar shape to a Super Stroke 1.0.
But it had the grip that it had a ridge down the center that really hit a finger wrong, and that's what I've never liked about the DF 2.1 was the grip had this ridge down the back edge that hit my finger wrong, hit one of my fingers wrong. And so he said, well, Calvin's like, just go get a grip that you want.
Any grip. I mean, that's the nice part about zero.
And that was beautiful. And I sent it to him, and it was 3 days later, it was back to me. I ended up getting a wind grip.
Nice.
Thick, but it didn't have that ridge back in the back of it.
You mean the seam in back?
Yes, the seam.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It came to a point and just hit my finger wrong. Gave me I don't know. I was just whining. That's
Yeah,
okay.
but no, I mean, it's a great putter. It's going to keep getting better.
And it's going to satisfy a lot of people who've probably been reluctant.
For
I
sure.
think that's a huge thing. So, are there more putter designs to be had? I mean,
No, that's it. That's it. We're
you're
done.
done. Okay.
Yeah, never going to
No
design.
one's ever going to buy the company.
Oh, we always got stuff in the works, and
Of course.
and that's one of the most wonderful things about our new owners here is like, I mean, our R&D team is twice as big as it was 3 months ago. Our technology and the machinery available to us in order to develop product is twice as much as it was a few months ago, and so now
And
we have
you've
crazy
got enough
stuff.
land you have enough land at Creswell to expand operation
Hmm.
and build out.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. It's really, really, really great, and yeah, I'm so excited about the product side of things. And I've actually kind of the last 18 months haven't been nearly as involved as I would have liked to have been, just because my world was
Yeah.
all about getting that deal done. And now that it's done, I get to get back into the R&D room with the guys, with the engineers who actually know what they're doing, and it's just awesome. I mean, and the
It
timing too
is.
was amazing too, because we finished the R&D space. When you were there, it was still a pool, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, there was a pool and a jacuzzi and that atrium
Yeah,
looking
right.
thing, whatever. Now
The barber shop and
that was on the other side of the building, but yes, the
yeah, right.
barber shop is now the break room, and the pool and the spa area is now totally state of the art R&D space, and
Wow.
so we're going to be pushing some stuff forward. The next 24 months of product coming out of Lab will be profound.
And we'll have our eye on it.
Yeah.
Again, Sam, to you and your brother and your dad, I'm so happy for you guys. And I'm so happy for the company and everybody that works there, because I've witnessed it firsthand that it is about the people and the culture. You've done an amazing job over there, and I'm just so incredibly proud to be a witness to it from this close.
Thank you so much, Fred. And we could not have done it without you and the other Fred Greens of the world that have enough of an interest in this stupid ass game to take time out of their day to record stuff and tell our story. And I appreciate you, pal.